Welcome to the Saints That Serve podcast,
where each week your hosts dive into the crossroads of faith,
culture,
and the unknown. Christ is Lord,
and the kingdom is now. We are the Saints That Serve. Welcome, everybody, to the Saints That Serve podcast. That is the Saints That Serve podcast.
That's right.
That's right. 100%. 100%. I'm your host, Jairus, and with me...
Here's Johnny.
And that was perfectly well timed.
That's right. No delays here, baby.
No delays here. This is, what episode is this?
Well, we're going to let our special guest announce the episode.
That's right, because we have a special guest.
We have a special guest, and he's going to do it in our special guest way.
Okay.
Grab the D20 dice right here.
Is this the solo right here? This is D20?
Yep. Mm-hmm. D20. So
Okay.
you're gonna roll it.
Roll it.
What is it? Nat 20.
Are you serious?
Okay. You get
14? What does 14 mean?
No, it's just it's just a dice, a 1 through 20.
Okay.
You landed on 20.
So that is literally the best thing you could get.
That's the highest you can get.
We have never had a nat 20 on this show.
Wow.
So this is our friend Taylor, and he's going to tell us what episode number this is.
This is episode 15
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
of the Saints That Serve the
The
Saints That Serve
podcast.
Yeah. Normally, like, if they roll a really crappy roll, then we, like, make them do something really stupid. Like, you got to stutter while you
Yeah.
Yeah.
introduce it. But everyone's actually rolled a high number.
Yeah. Is this a weighted dice right here? Is this like...
I mean, it's weighted because it's metal, but it's not like
Right.
a cheated dice.
we're not going to Vegas with that dice?
No.
Right? Okay.
I don't know what game you would play in Vegas with a 20-sided die.
Oh, I'm sure there's something. Vegas has a way to figure out.
They'll figure it.
Vegas will find a way to take your money.
Yeah. The house always wins.
That's right. Yeah,
So in this episode 15
that's right.
of the Saints That Serve podcast, what is our episode 15 announcements?
Just that we're praying for you every Friday. So if you need any prayer, reach out to us through any of our socials. You can also text. There's a text option at the bottom of the description of this podcast, or you can email us at thesaintsthatserve@gmail.com. That's thesaintsthatserve@gmail.com. Just let us know what you need prayer for, and we will be praying for you. We do it every Friday.
Whether or not you ask for the prayer or not, we're praying for you.
That's right. I mean, we'll pray for you any day of the week if you need it, but
We make a special intent on that day to pray for all peoples.
that's right. So that's pretty much it. We've got 2 more episodes, this episode and then 1 more episode, and then we're done with the year.
That's right. Smack dab in the middle of that joyful season.
That's right. So that's it. As far as announcements, I don't think we've got anything else besides our awesome guest Taylor's here with us tonight. Yeah.
That's right. You got any announcements, Taylor?
I had the announcement of we are in the studio. What do y'all have a name, a official name for this place? Like,
No, that's not God, but we don't have an official.
Would you like to christen it?
No,
No.
it's neat to see the studio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I feel at home in a way because I'm looking at like a neon alien head with a little backdrop of, you know, my favorite and one of me and Johnny's probably favorite topics to go off on, which would be the creature with many names,
The Squatch.
Squatch,
Yep.
Bigfoot, and Mothman. Is that Mothman there?
We got Mothman. We got.
When are we going to talk about that? Mothman's like my favorite.
I've been putting it off intentionally because.
It's my favorite.
No, just because there was a video that surfaced like a month ago, and it was someone in like drain tunnels, like the, you know, really big ones that you can walk through underneath the city that Mothman was seen at. And he was like videoing walking through, and then like these 2 eyeballs pop around the corner and look at him, and they're at human height, but they don't reflect like a human's eyes would reflect. And then it darts back behind, and then those eyes come back, and then another entity with those eyes comes further into the like opening and then like quickly darts back. So people are alleging, does the Mothman, is there more than one, and do they live in the sewer system underneath the city?
What's the difference between a sewer Mothman versus a sky Mothman?
No, that's what I'm saying is they fly out into the sky, but where they dwell is down in the sewer, is what they're alleging.
No, I think what lives in the sewers is turtles.
You think it's
yeah, mutated turtles in the sewers.
Heroes with a half shell?
Turtle power.
Okay.
They love pizza.
Yeah, they love pizza. You know, some Zabra.
We're having some good old pizza here in the studio tonight.
Yep.
That's right.
I mean, it's subpar pizza. Let's not.
It's
Let's
Not handmade.
Let's not build up Domino's. All right, come on.
easy. Not until they give us money.
That's right. Domino's, I'll say you're great if you give me free pizza.
We'll have pizza in the studio every recording if you support us. Domino's.
Yeah.
This opening brought to you by Domino's.
No, this opening brought to you by Papa John.
Yeah. No, and then the aliens, like, dude, like, aliens is really hot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk about aliens.
Sky drones over New Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, I saw something on that today, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It was related to football, I think. They were like,
What?
they were holding up a big banner, like trying to get them to fire, I think, the New York coach or something like that. I don't know. But it was related to the drones in some way.
What are they saying? They'll hire the drones instead of that coach? The drones would do a better job?
The aliens would probably do a better job coaching.
Well, it just goes to show that America can make anything about football. Anyways.
I had that same button on mine.
Wow. Crazy. It's like we get the same sound bites from the same place. Yeah, no, it's, dude, I mean, my feed has been consistent for the past 2 weeks now with the New Jersey drones, is what everyone's saying. The concerning part for me is the lack of response from the government.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know or care either way if it's a UFO or an alien ship or a human ship.
What's more likely happening? Is it the lack of response because they don't want to say because they know, or because they don't know and don't want to appear that they don't know what's going on?
I think there was a theory brought up on one of the areas I was listening to, is that it's private military corporations. They'll release random things that they're working on just to see the response before they like go mainstream with it and be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is real. They'll pretend like they don't have anything, or it's like, oh, it's not us. And then, 6 months later, it hits the line for production and you're like, oh yeah, that is us. Yeah, that was us. We did that. So I think that it's leaning more towards that because the federal government's not doing anything about it. And they're also not saying anything about it. And if it was another country or if it was an alien entity, why would they be so laxed? I don't think that they would.
Yeah.
I think that they would be a lot more I mean, I say that, but then China flew a balloon across the entire continent. So
Allegedly. I feel like we have to say allegedly a lot now because one of our episodes got taken down for something I said
Nice.
on YouTube.
Y'all have officially been canceled in 15 episodes.
Yeah, in less
Been
than 15
canceled.
episodes.
Dude, I applaud you on that. Good
Thank you. So just that's my announcement. If you've seen that episode 11 is missing, I'm working on trying to get it back up.
Just on YouTube.
Just on YouTube. It's available on all other platforms. Just YouTube didn't like what I said about insert topic here.
Let's just say it starts with a C and ends with an Ovid.
So you were talking about your feed being filled with the drones. My feed is nothing but Wicked. For some reason, I'm getting all of the movie,
the musical.
musical.
I thought you were going the sin route. You're like, my feed's been filled with nothing but sinners.
It's very specifically that one song that's so huge from that right now, which is Defying Gravity.
Defying gravity. I'm defying gravity. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know why I know that?
Because you're raised a theater kid?
Because I was trapped in a family that loves theater.
Broadway.
Yeah.
We went and saw the movie. It really surprised me how much better I thought it was going to be.
So what's your take on the two main characters? Both those actresses have significantly lost weight.
Okay, what is it? I don't know what it's called, but like there is some real big hip thing, like diet drug that Hollywood is using right now that's practically slowly slimming them down to nothing.
That's what you think it is? I just think it's
no.
weird.
What I've heard that is something that is in Hollywood society right now that it's like helping lose weight, but it's a drastic.
So is it like an injection?
I think it's some sort of pill, maybe.
I haven't heard anything about that. I just thought it was weird how, because someone posted a picture of a side-by-side for both the main actresses.
And they look so healthy before that started.
And then after, it's like someone like... It's like they were a vacuum seal bag and someone hooked a vacuum up to them.
They look awful.
It's not good.
Yikes.
I mean, they were pretending to be witches, so maybe if you mess with witchcraft, something happens.
Oh, got him.
You know, I don't want to be that guy, but...
Be that guy.
I have said multiple times, don't mess with witchcraft. Just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that your feed is full of musical theater.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I didn't even think that you were into that kind of stuff.
I like that one movie. I have like 2 musical movies.
Okay.
3 musical movies that I really like.
Maybe 4?
No, like I really liked Wicked.
Okay.
I like Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh, yeah.
And then I like Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, Sweeney Todd's pretty.
I guess so. Yeah.
So
Pirates Penzance for me. That's my favorite musical. Just because of how funny it is.
Mm-hmm. Was it your family loved Les Mis?
Yeah, I guess so. They all really like Pirates Penzance too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a really funny musical.
I've never seen that one.
Rewatched Les Mis recently, not still a good movie.
With Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman and Eddie Redmayne.
I don't know who that is.
What role does he play? He plays like the love interest of Hugh Jackman's daughter, but he also played in Harry Potter.
Okay, in the movie.
In the movie.
Okay.
You
did a little bit of a delay between Hugh Jackman and his daughter. And so
sorry.
I was going
sorry.
Like, wait, is this a different Les Mis that I've seen?
Is this the one that was released in India?
Hugh Jackman's character, what's the character's name?
Jacques. I don't know.
Jean Valjean.
Thank you.
There you go.
His daughter.
Played by Anne Hathaway, right?
No, that is...
The woman who births the daughter, the biological mother.
He adopts the girl, and then later on, there's like a French Revolution, and one of the guys is Eddie Redmayne, which is the guy who plays Newt Scamander in Fantastic Beasts.
Good actor.
And more recently, what I saw him in was Day of the Jackal.
Yeah, where he's like an assassin or something.
And that just recently ended, and that was really good. Which that is a remake of an older movie, which I saw a comparison side by side of one of the scenes, and it's identical. It's an identical remake on some portions.
Cool.
And that's your movie talk for this episode.
We'll probably talk more about it because let's get into the nitty gritty with Mr. Taylor. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
I work for a company and do a thing.
Don't we all?
All right. But what industry you're in, just as a broad scope?
I am in the media industry. I film and edit television shows in the outdoor industry.
And I know that you got your education specifically in that. Like what was your motivation or inspiration to get into that?
I started in high school. I took a broadcast journalism class. Really kind of liked that. And it was one of the first things I'd done outside of like sports and things like that, that when I sat down to edit or when I started thinking about a film or something that I wanted to shoot, I would be sitting there and think that 20 minutes had gone by and about 3 hours had gone by. So it was one of those things that I felt, hey, I may be kind of gifted in doing this, and I can do this for a long period of time and still be captivated by it.
Please tell me why it takes so long for me to edit an hour, 30-minute episode of the podcast, and I'll blink and it'll be 8 hours later.
Yes.
Oh my God. I relate so much to what you're saying.
Yeah. The editing dungeon is like it's a real thing. I mean,
it's true. I've seen his dungeon, his editing dungeon.
It's, you can spend a lot of time, perfecting your craft and telling a story. And to me, most of the stuff I do, I care a lot about the story, and I care a lot about what we're trying to show or demonstrate or tell the audience or educate or whatever we're doing. And for me, I just want to get it right. And so that takes time, and I have a hard time letting it go until I feel like I've achieved what it can be.
Okay. So getting into it now, since you do it full time, have you noticed a difference in the way that you watch movies just because you've been on the backside of the camera?
Yeah, I tell people a lot. It kind of ruins your ability to watch stuff and listen to stuff sometimes because, that veil has been pulled back in a way.
So from me, editing from a hobby, it's not a career or anything like that. You can ask him how, when I got into doing it, how much he wanted me to shut up when we started watching movies.
Yeah.
And it does. It really does. When you start that process and going deeper, it does pull back that veil. I don't think it ruins it for me.
I think anything that you approach and you start pursuing in kind of a higher level, when you start getting that veil pulled back, whether it's a sport or whether it's, a career or whatever, it gives you a deeper appreciation for it. You can see things differently.
Yeah.
So when I look at a scene in a movie or something like that, I can feel more or see more, I think, sometimes of what the character is doing. And you see like camera placement is a big thing that maybe a lot of people don't always understand, but it's rudimentary. But, when you put a camera low looking up at somebody, it gives you a different perspective of that person as opposed to if you put the camera up high looking down. It's things like that cinematographers, DPs do that can subtly influence the way that the audience perceives a character or a scene or whatever. And so there's things like that that you notice and you're fascinated by. So when you look at, great films, you start, I think, can see things in a deeper level as opposed to like just going like, oh yeah, like Gladiator's great or whatever. Like you just see it and you're like,
I thought it was good.
It was a good movie, but there's things that you can see the director, the cinematographer, the DPs, like you can see all their, all that they had to do in order to get that vision and that look and that feel to tell that story the way that they did. And to me, that's a really enjoyable part about when you watch really good cinema or television shows or whatever. You can appreciate how much work, like we were just talking about, how much work really went into doing it at the level that they did it, I think, but.
We have our fourth guest just walked in.
Our trash cat.
Trash cat's back.
That cat has probably the bushiest, huge tail that I've ever seen.
Dude, he is, like, when we got him, we've told the story before, but he was abandoned underneath the chicken coop from his mom or whatever. Took us a little while to catch him, but we finally caught him. He was super malnourished, but we nursed him back to health. We held on to him for like an hour, the first day that we got him, and he was super hissing and trying to lash and stuff. But after that first hour, like, he just became all about being held,
Yes. Yeah.
being held and petted and stuff. And it got to the point where he was healthy again. He'd be down here, and anyone down here, he would just jump up on them and hang out on their shoulder or on their lap, and then eventually start attacking them, trying to play and stuff. And it's been that way consistently. So
he looks part bobcat.
He does, because he's got the little
the
points coming off of his ears.
His ears and his face.
Yeah.
He's got a...
For anybody listening, there is a picture of Trash Cat out on our Instagram.
That's right.
Is that his official name, Trash Cat?
No, it's Tom Bombadil, but
we call him Trash Cat.
Yeah, because when we first started recording down here, none of this was here.
Right.
It was just us at a table with all of my trash. That's tucked away in the corner over there. But he lived among the trash, so I called him the Trash Cat.
Who came from trash and lived in trash.
Tom Bombadil.
But yeah, we call him Tom Bombadil because he's a tomcat.
So, Melchizedek?
Hey. Yeah, pretty much.
So,
it's like Melchizedek.
I listened to another podcast that had an interesting thing that was talking about, it was more about Melchizedek.
Yeah.
And some other biblical characters and kind of who Melchizedek was. And I thought it was really interesting. But I'd always been very fascinated by Tom Bombadil. And I'd looked up some other stuff. I mean, it seemed like Tolkien was kind of going maybe with Tom Bombadil's character was kind of a Melchizedek type of character. Have you ever gone down that rabbit trail?
I've heard that before, and I can totally see it. I heard one person, they were trying to say, like, I want to do a deep dive and see all the different parallels to the Silmarillion and the Book of Enoch, because they think that J.R.R. Tolkien was doing a commentary of the Book of Enoch using Middle-earth and the Silmarillion and stuff. And so I've heard that. That's the most recent thing I've heard. But yeah, I've heard of, Melchizedek being the Tom Bombadil, but not like, he doesn't like parallel him in every way. It's more of he is that outside authority.
There's some very interesting character features between Tom Bombadil and what biblically Melchizedek, he's kind of like, Tom Bombadil isn't affected by the ring. Yep. There's like some really interesting things that, he's kind of outside of the time world of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
So for those who have only seen the Lord of the Rings movies and never read the books and isn't quite familiar with Tom Bombadil, can you go into a very quick description of what he is in the books?
So in the book, he's not like any one thing. He's a character that the hobbits run into before they reach Bree. And he actually rescues them from a tree that's trying to eat them. And then they stay with him, and then they end up getting trapped in this place called the Barrow Downs by this, it's called a Barrow Wight in the books. But it's basically this spirit-like entity that traps them in one of the burial chambers, and Tom rescues them from that as well. But he's a character that's kind of like human-like. He has human-like features, and he lives in this forest with his wife.
Goldberry.
Yeah, thank you, Goldberry. And they just kind of, that's his thing. He makes it clear, like, hey, this patch of woods is mine. This is Tom Bombadil's, and I am lord over it, and I oversee it. And I'm not concerned about what's on outside of it, but whatever happens in these woods, like, I'm in control of it. It's kind of how he presents himself, and he takes care of the hobbits and sends them on their way.
But he's like not affected by the ring.
Yeah, the ring has no power over him. He looks at it like it's a silly little trinket. So it's not this big bad power.
Which is interesting because every other character in the entire book is bound by the power to some degree of the ring. Like you have that scene where Gandalf is going to grab the ring and he's, saying, I don't want anything to do with it because through me it's going to wield a greater power and all this stuff. And Tom is like this one character that's kind of outside of everything but present, but isn't affected by.
Yeah.
He's an interesting little character. But yeah, story-wise, I understand why Peter Jackson's adaptation left him out.
Is he just too overpowered in that sense?
I think, as far as closure goes for the movies, it would just be hard to be like, why didn't they get Tom to help? Or why didn't Tom do something?
Why didn't the Eagles just do it?
Yeah. It's kind of a story arc hole that some people discuss.
Yeah. I mean, because it is in the overall 3 books, the portion that Tom is in is very small. But in the first book where he's a good chunk where they have interaction with him and they do stuff with him and all that stuff. But in the books, they make it clear, like, Tom is only concerned about his
kingdom.
Yeah, his kingdom, his little area. He's not concerned about anything. And who knows what will happen to his area if he leaves, because he's the lord over it and he takes care of it. So he's not going to leave his area to help us, is kind of how they put it in the book. So I guess that's kind of why it was left out, is because
it doesn't really advance the overall storyline. Like, in the end, the hobbits are going from point A to point B. And what really drives the next part of the story is them going to Bree, meeting Strider and going on and all that stuff, right? But there's nothing that advances the story a lot. Like, you get some character, you get some more of the Middle Earth world and stuff like that, but there's nothing in that I don't feel or don't recall really advancing the overall story arc of the ring and of Middle Earth.
It's strictly just a point of world building for them as the book author, just another way to build out the world, but not just a stopping point for the main characters.
Yeah, kind of. But that's one of the things I've found kind of interesting is like, okay, so was Tolkien kind of writing some of these things and including some of these biblical characters? And was he kind of pointing to this kind of mysterious biblical character of Melchizedek, who is the king? He's like part king, part priest. And, he fulfills a lot of the things that ultimately Scripture talks about. And in the New Testament, they refer to Jesus as being, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the high priest, the great high priest. And so he fulfills some of these different things, but he's one of the few biblical characters that you don't see have really a beginning or a real end to his life and story. So...
yeah, it really is kind of, because in the movies, they make it look like here's Hobbiton, and then 20 miles away is Bree. And that's the thing, like it's really close. But in reality, like it's Hobbiton, the Shire, which is its own country, essentially. And then outside of that, Bree is like a couple of days away. So they are journeying out of the Shire and across this foreign land to try and get to Bree. And Tom Bombadil's in that chunk of the story. He's in that chunk of the map. And they have to go through a forest to get there, and that's his forest. And so that's kind of the idea, is that he's the good guy character that rescues them from the bad guy stuff that happens in that portion. Because once they get out of the Shire and out of safety, then Tom Bombadil's the first hero that helps them. And then after Bree, it's Strider. And then after Rivendell, it's the Fellowship. And it just progresses that way until we get to where Frodo's on his own. All he has is Sam, and they have to make it work. And so that's kind of the thing. And so if you look at it with that perspective of like, okay, their first hero is like, it doesn't matter the scenario they get into, he's going to be able to help them. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of work their way down to
independence.
Yeah, independence, I guess is what you could say. But yeah, it's just like you're saying, in the movies, it doesn't really make sense to include it so much because of the decisions that they made, as far as the journey, what to include and what not to include.
Is there any moments that Tom Bombadil in the movies happens, but they replace him with another character, or is it just all strictly taken out?
Strictly taken out, yeah.
The only thing that is in the portion of Tom Bombadil's story that's kept in the movies happens much later in the story in the movies than it does in the books, where the hobbits get eaten by a tree. That happens in Tom Bombadil's forest, but in the movies, it happens in Fangorn Forest. And rather than Tom Bombadil shooing the tree away and rescuing the hobbits, it's Treebeard who does it. Mm-hmm. So that's the only portion of the Tom Bombadil arc that made it into the movies, but they did it with Treebeard instead.
Gotcha. And I guess it makes somewhat sense because they're in a forest of sentient trees. One eats some, another one.
Whoa. Treebeard is not a sentient tree. Is that what you were saying? Or were you saying that?
Sorry. Let me backpedal to appease you. Ints.
Thank you. They are not trees. They are totally different. Peter Jackson just made them look like trees for some reason. I don't know why.
So what are they described as in the books then, Ints?
It says that they're really tall. They have this kind of like dark, rough skin. The biggest description that they give is that Ents are made from the bones of the earth. So because of that, they're pretty close to being indestructible.
Except Saruman can then cut them down to build his war machines.
He cuts the trees down, not the Ents.
I think they call them shepherds of the forest.
Yeah, tree herders.
Yeah, tree herders. Yeah.
In a way that like a human and a sheep would look similar. That's what an Ent and a tree would be. Like there's not really a similarity. There's some minor similarities.
I'm curious how many big changes that Peter Jackson made like that. That a lot of people don't know about.
There's probably a lot. I don't know. The thing is J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth is literally a whole other world that he created. And it's not just geographically a whole other world. It's cultures and languages, and each of those cultures has their own history and they all mesh and collide with one another and overlap, and they share technology and they share history. And so it's just like there's so much in it that there's probably a lot going on. And there's just...
To piggyback off what you're saying and asking you another question, what do you think the most overly developed lore to a franchise? Like, do you think it's Lord of the Rings, or do you think there's something even more ridiculously built out?
If anything, the Silmarillion is like a book of just like almost genealogy.
Yeah,
it's like just telling where all this stuff comes from.
Yeah.
Probably one of the closest ones I can think off the top of my head would be like the Marvel universe, right? Like there's all these kind of backstories and all this stuff that leads up to the characters that we see, but they're not inventing languages. Like one thing I find fascinating about Tolkien is like he was a linguist at, what was it, Cambridge, I believe?
Yeah, one of those yuppie English colleges.
Yeah. So he's like a linguist. And so when he created the Elvish language, like he created a full linguistically sound language for this character and developed all this world based on linguistics. And it was fascinating.
I can't remember what it's called. It's not called Elvish.
Don't they teach it? Like you can take Spanish and you can take Elvish.
I know it's not the same thing, but like I know you can learn Klingon on Duolingo.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of different dialects of Elvish, but I think the one that they use in Middle Earth is Sindarin, is the predominant Elvish that is spoken.
Nice.
Imagine that much dedication to your development of your property that you would invent not one but several different dialects of different languages for your world.
Yeah, because I've got a list right here. And this is just different Elven dialects. It's Quenya, Sindarin, Doriath, Noldorin, Kenya, and Vanurin Kenya. So it's different dialects, but I think Kenya and Sindarin are the two main Elven languages, and then they've got branch off dialects. Because I think that they are actually two separate languages. Yeah, they're both spoken by elves, but they're totally separate. You could compare it to like Nepali and Hindi, or Portuguese and Spanish. They're two totally separate languages, but they share a lot of words. So, and they're kind of the structure's very similar, so you could understand one another, but they are separate languages.
Man, we got to hear from a bushy-tailed cat jumping up on.
Yeah, talking about.
We went from cat to Tom Bombadil to Melchizedek to
Kenya and Sindarin.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I love it when conversations lead that way. It's just it's such a fun, natural way.
Yeah, this is a good segue to kind of how me and Johnny met and kind of built our relationship because, you know, we were going to the same church and we first met through home group, right? Like, I think so. Johnny, my wife and I lead a home group at our church, and, you know, I get an email saying, hey, this family wants to come join your home group. Come on. So meet Johnny, and we just start kicking it off. And what just happened in this podcast was basically every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It's like we would be trying to get through, let's say there's 15 questions, and we would start on question 1, and it would just go this way and this way and this way. And it was all really good conversation. It was one of those where, like, I wish our culture and our society was more of like that sit down at a table society now. We've kind of evolved away from that in a way, but you know, we're very bound by time, and you know, we got to get the kids to bed, and all those things are very important, but like we'd be having these great conversations, and like I'd look at my watch and it'd been like an hour and a half of like the 2-hour window that we were trying to kind of keep our home group to.
And you're still on question 1.
And we're on question 1, like literally question 1. And so we built a really good relationship, you know, kind of through those conversations, very similar interests in the outdoors and homesteading and, you know, a lot of different common interests and great families. And, you know, we just kind of kicked it off from there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I will say, I'm happy you're my friend.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Me and Johnny met in the middle of the woods.
We all like trying to shoot the same deer and like...
No. We're like, you're talking like 8 and 9.
Okay.
age-wise.
Yeah.
And we're out here playing in our woods.
Yep.
And then we just see this random kid with glasses appear. And we're like, you want to play? And then he ended up, you know, it was during the summer. So you pretty much came over every single day that summer.
Yeah.
And we just hung out and played in the woods, and he'd come over and hang out and eat dinner and stuff. And
So yeah, my grandmother's house is like 2 houses down from here.
Okay.
Or not anymore, but at the time.
at the time, yeah.
It's the funniest thing. I always tell this story. That thing that I was taught 100 times, don't talk to strangers and don't go into strangers' houses.
Yeah.
Broke all those rules that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, he didn't know, but like my mom and dad knew her, knew his
Of
grand-
her, yeah.
Yeah.
Not even knew of her.
Oh,
Like they,
knew her.
all our neighbors.
Had a relationship.
Yeah.
At the time, everybody down the street knew each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the house that's between here, Paul.
Good old Paul. He's deceased.
He-
so we
I feel like we can talk about Paul.
R.I.P. Paul.
Yeah, R.I.P. Paul. Dude, he was a old, like very old, active guy until he got into a car accident, and then it all kind of went downhill from there. But
There is so many stories about this man.
he sought to bring up that car accident
Oh,
every single conversation
Every
he got
conversation.
into.
Yeah.
so in his, I guess dementia stage of life, right before he passed, it was just he would always tell these same like 3 stories.
Yeah.
The one story about how that fella rear-ended his car and messed up his knee.
Yeah, and then he would like slap the crap out of his knee. He would be like, "My knee!"
And you sit there like, well, Mr. Paul, like the reason why your knee's not healing is because you keep smacking the crap out of it.
Tell that story 8 times a day, and you slap it as hard as you can. It's
Now,
not
did
gonna-
you ever, in these multitude of different retellings of this, like get some new drastic information? Like,
No.
no, it was the same story every time.
Same exact story.
He had stories about his car wreck, and then he'd always tell stories about his mule that he had when he was like 15
Okay.
at the age of 90.
Yeah, he'd have to plow with a mule.
Uphill in the snow both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what was his favorite drink of choice to bring out whenever you were doing yard work for the man?
Moonshine.
No, Diet Cherry Dr. Pepper.
Diet cherry,
It
Dr.
was the worst.
Yeah, no, but this guy, like, we would cut his grass for him because he couldn't do it. And we were already cutting my grandfather's grass. And he wanted to pay us, and we're like, you don't have to pay us. Like, we're just doing it. I mean, it's no big deal.
Oh, really? I always charged him.
Yeah, I know. But
Somebody's an entrepreneur over here.
yeah, but he felt like he had to give us something. So it was always a cherry Diet Dr. Pepper and a thing of Oreos.
That's kind of a weird
It's a
combination.
we wanted the Oreos, but he wanted us to want the Dr. Pepper. So
And you'd sit there and you're just like, have to think, you'd be like, yum, so
I
good.
just can't imagine like sweating
yeah,
on a hot
exactly.
Georgia
Summer day.
summer.
98 degrees, 100% humidity. You're
The first thing you grab is Diet and just take a big old swig.
Yep.
Refreshing.
funny guy, but
R.I.P. Paul.
yeah, all right, people.
It's funny because you never called him Paul.
No, we always called him by his last name, Mr.
Blank.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you could probably say it, but
we don't do last.
we don't
names.
do that.
We got a running thing here. Might as well keep it going.
Yeah. Respect.
I respect that. Yeah, that was but yeah, so it was like my grandfather lived at this house over here, and then it was Mr. Paul right there, and then it was Jairus's grandmother the next house down, and the next house down was like my second aunt,
And then across the street,
and across the street was my great aunts. So it was like this entire area was just all pretty much family. Until-
isn't the road named after your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But we're not going to let anyone on the internet know what it is.
Sucker.
I'm going to change the subject here a little bit. Do you remember that day that we were out just walking around and they were filming that movie at your aunt's house?
Yeah. Dude, I could have walked right up and like, because they weren't filming inside the house. They were using the aesthetics of the outside. And I was like, maybe I should go over there because they're all inside. I know they're inside. And when I walk up, I ask like, "Hey, what are you guys filming?" And the guy's like, "Oh, it's a toothpaste commercial."
A toothpaste.
Yeah, I was like,
It was not
"No,
true.
it's not."
And the only reason why we figured out what they were doing was crazy is
My mother-in-law was an extra, so she was literally there.
So is this like a well-known movie?
okay. Can we talk about this movie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Saving Steve McQueen. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Neither has anybody. How much money do you think this? Okay, who is the guy in it? The guy,
Travis Flimmel.
the guy from Vikings, right?
Yeah, it was the main guy who played Ragnar from the Vikings TV series.
This movie also had Forrest Whitaker in it.
Excellent actor.
How much money do you think this movie made in the United States? $78.
78?
Yeah, it did awful.
It did
Yikes.
some of the worst a movie could do. I don't remember the reason. I think it was like because of the coronavirus. Maybe.
I know that I know that they started filming it and then they just like
It stopped and it started. it
Wait, so
stopped.
this was recently?
No.
During the
That's
Rona?
what's crazy is like I think it finally eventually released in that time frame, but it took them that long to finish it, edit it, and release it. And then when it released, no one knew about it because there was no marketing for it, so it made almost no money.
So this moment that you were describing.
this happened years before they released the movie.
Well, yeah. So this was how long?
Oh, I don't even know.
I think it was probably 2014, 15, maybe.
It was after I came back from Hawaii, so it would have been at least 2015.
Also, one of my favorite stories to tell, when we were watching them set up all that stuff, they had their boon, a camera on the end of like a long mechanical pole,
Yeah.
and they were lifting it up, getting it ready.
Crane.
Yeah, one of those cranes. It broke and it dropped, watching the camera smash on the ground.
And that's why they made $78.
That's where all that went to.
It was good times growing up over here in this part of the world that we live in.
I used to, living around here, just all the time go past some sort of film set or something. I got stuck in traffic one time going down a back road because they had like a whole rig on a car and they were filming like a driving scene. And they had like a whole caravan of people driving behind them just to film a driving moment on real streets.
Yeah, because, everyone who lives here, whatever, you don't matter.
Yeah.
To appease the masses and the Hollywood overlords.
Atlanta would.
Atlanta would. Yeah, Atlanta would. Yeah,
They have a lot of tax incentives.
Mm-hmm.
this is true.
I was an extra in a movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can see me walk by for 2 seconds in Footloose,
Footloose?
The newer one, not
the newer one.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He was a high school student.
High school student number. What number were you?
Oh, high school student number. I don't even know. There was like hundreds of kids.
Did you get credited?
No.
You have an IMDb page?
That'd be awesome.
You know what? I guess I get it, but I was kind of annoyed in the movie that my middle son was in.
Mm-hmm.
He's in it a good amount.
Pretty much practically a main character in this movie because he is the baby version of the main character. And you see in flashbacks his son throughout the movie.
Yeah. He doesn't make it in the credits, so they don't put his name in the credits.
Yikes.
So, whatever.
Protecting his identity, maybe?
I guess.
Well,
but-
are you that disappointed that movie wasn't that great?
I mean, the movie did suck. So you really want anyone to know your son was in it?
I just remember like that's the only reason I watched that movie was because he was in that movie.
Yeah. Well, but as all movies these days are, it was based off of a book series.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people liked the book series. And so I was like, okay, so maybe it'll be a good movie. So he got the part and he did his thing. And his thing, he was like 6 months old. It's not like he did anything.
Just woman holding him.
Yeah, it's just a lady holding him and then a couple of like close-up shots or whatever. But yeah, it ended up not being a great movie.
Mm-hmm. But it starred two major people, two major actors.
No, there's more than two. There's a lot.
Oh, that's right.
There's a lot of.
Well-known people. Yeah.
Do you want to say the name of the movie or
Nah.
no? Okay, still not comfortable with it.
We're gonna hold on.
Even though your son's name is not credited in the movie at all.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Give me more time.
There's some super sleuths on the internet that will
Yeah. There's
find you.
if someone can find a geographical location just from a picture online, I'm sure that someone will figure it out. So I'm just going to. AI has done a lot of crazy things.
You are right about
normal
that.
people. So they'll run a face recognition program and they'll find it.
They'll find you because we
me.
said the name of a title of a movie.
Yeah. And then they'll show up to my house and they'll talk about how they hate our podcast. And I'll be like, well, you could have emailed me.
So let me share the gospel with
So,
you.
yeah. So since you're here, have
Hey,
you
maybe
heard
it's
of
a
our Lord
good
and
thing
Savior?
then they come to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a gospel tool. Yeah. Anyways, speaking of the gospel.
Do you want to get on to our first topic?
I do. Tyler, this is your transition. We are transitioning into our topic, our main topic for the night. It's not you, but we wanted people to get to know you.
Is that the editor?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so one of our feedbacks earlier on in the show, someone said that they liked the show.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that they would give us as like constructive criticism is awareness when we were changing topics, because there was kind of just a one long fluid thing and they didn't realize when we had moved on into the next thing. But overall, he's like, but overall it was great.
Yeah.
You guys did good. I was like, okay, we can do that for you. So ever since then, his name's Tyler. Whenever we change,
What's up, Tyler?
Yeah, shout out to Tyler. Every single time that we change topics or we move into something, we call it the Tyler transition.
Yeah, he's transition Tyler.
He is enshrined into this podcast
Love
forever now. So
I kind of forgot that was the reasoning behind that. And I just have naturally been saying it for
started saying
for a while now.
That's what's going to happen.
So now you got to brand your different segments as like, it's this. So,
Well, but that's the thing is we only have one consistent segment. We do the corner, the cryptic corner.
Yep.
And that's really the only one that we do every single week.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of just topical, depending on what's going on kind of deal. But whenever we change it.
Transition Tyler's ready to go.
Exactly.
You got it.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
So, all right. What do you guys know about the nativity story?
Jesus. Silent night.
Silent.
Holy night.
Yes. All of that stuff. If there's no opposition to it, I'm going to read the birth of Jesus Christ, and then we'll talk about it.
Please.
Okay.
Please do it.
All right. Here we go. And this is in Matthew. It's Matthew chapter 1, and we're going to start in verse 18. Now, the birth of Jesus Christ was in this way. When, as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now all this was done, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Behold, the virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord had bidden him, and took unto him his wife, and knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the cast of Jerusalem. You know what? I'm going to stop there because we're going to talk about the wise men next week. But the big thing with the nativity is, and the reason I chose to do Matthew is because Matthew tries to hit hard on fulfillment of prophecy. And so the birth of Jesus Christ is a immaculate conception.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no natural process of it. but Matthew says in it, and it's to fulfill an Old Testament prophecy. So do you guys have any ideas on how many prophecies Jesus fulfilled with his birth and life?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, I've heard a really interesting illustration, and I probably will botch this, but about the probability of Jesus fulfilling like even a portion of the prophecies that he fulfilled, which would be like you take the state of Texas and you bury it like 6 foot up with quarters.
Yep.
Something like that. You take one silver dollar, you throw it somewhere in Texas. You take like a blind deaf man, blindfold him, put him out, tell him to walk as long as he wants, do whatever, and then he's going to stop somewhere, bend down and pick one coin up off the ground. And the probability of Jesus fulfilling like half of the ones that he did would be like that scenario of someone picking up a silver dollar.
Yep.
A blind man picking up a silver dollar in a sea of quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, roughly somewhere between 300 and 550 is just a very broad, but the bare minimum is 300. He fulfilled 300 prophecies.
And you said that's for his whole life.
Whole life. Everything about his life.
And the crazy thing is, you think about when that stuff was written, right? Like we believe the Bible was written over a period of time, multiple different authors and multiple different languages, and the cohesiveness of these prophecies and this story. And Jesus there were certain things that he could not control, like what we're reading now in the nativity scene. He could not control where he was born, could not control, being born in a city of David, all those things. Like he could not control those things. So there were so many things outside of his control. That's a counter argument to people saying like, oh, well, he was just a man that lived a life that was supposed to be exemplary, or, like he was just a human man who just did some good things. And he was a version of Gandhi. He was a version of these like good people.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we believe he's 100% God, 100% man.
Yeah. And so that's the point I wanted to make, bouncing off of you, is that Jesus as just a man could in no way, shape, or form fulfill these prophecies. But if he's God, then he definitely can do it. Like he can manage it and make it happen. So, he has to be God to fulfill these things, like being born of a virgin, like being born in Bethlehem, the birthplace of David, like being from the line of David, like fleeing into Egypt, like coming from Galilee. Like, how are you born in Bethlehem, but you come from Galilee? That's kind of the hard thing, but he does it. And it's just through his life story. And then, on and on and on, all these different things. He, later on in life, he enters Jerusalem on a donkey. He's betrayed by a friend.
A donkey that had never been ridden.
A donkey that had never been ridden on. He's betrayed for 30 pieces of silver.
Yep.
Like the Old Testament puts it at exactly 30 pieces of silver. If Jesus is being betrayed, how could he control the amount of money that he's going to be betrayed for? Mm-hmm. And then after he dies, how could he orchestrate what they use that money to buy? Because Judas throws the money back at the high priests. And then they take it and they're like, well, we can't put it back in the temple because it's blood money. So what do we do with it? Oh, we'll just buy this field called the Potter. And that's where we'll put all the unknowns when they need to get buried. So it's like there's so many things that are prophecies that have to undergo for Jesus to be the Messiah that there's no way he could orchestrate them into existence, right? It has to be controlled by a supernatural, all-powerful God who is in control. I feel like throughout my life, I come back to that time and time again because I feel like a really big struggle for a lot of people is like, okay, God's all-knowing and all-powerful, and yet there's so much evil in the world. How is it? If God's all-loving and in control, why is there still sin and evilness? And I think that that's a hard thing for a lot of people. But God makes it clear that he does not like sin because sin is the description for being in disobedience to God. He does not like the evil and the wickedness. He's doing away with it. And on top of that, he has written out his entire plan to do away with it and presented it to mankind and let them know, like, hey, this stuff happened and I'm fixing it because you're never going to be able to fix it. You can't fix it. You need me to do it. So I'm going to fix it. And this is how I'm going to do it. And then we have the Old Testament that predicts the coming of Jesus. Jesus comes and he does everything that he needs to do to atone sin forever for all who would believe. And now we're in that era of come to the Lord, repent and believe, and be in God as Christ is in God. And on the final day, all of this sin and wickedness will be done away with. But we're in that limbo period right now of people repenting and believing. So all that to say is, as a believer, I don't have to struggle with if God's in control, why does this happen or why does that happen, right? Because like bad stuff happens in the world because the world's bad, okay? We all get that. God's going to make what he wants to make happen, regardless of if I'm on board or not, right? I have the opportunity to get on board, but he doesn't need me to. Because, look at all this stuff. These are all people that are making decisions and doing things in their lives, but God uses their decisions and their plans and their things for his plan and his thing. And they don't even realize that they're playing into what he's doing. They are. And he's using it to further the kingdom. It's not hinging on their decision. He already knows their decision. And so he puts it into the timeline of what he, Like it's crazy to think about. And I don't even understand it. I don't understand the reality of an all-powerful being who knows what I'm going to think, say, and do before I think, say, and do it till the end of my days and beyond. Like he knows all of it and he's already figured it all out for his glory. And I'm just kind of along for the ride in his perspective. But in my perspective, it's live time. Like it's happening right now. So it's hard I don't think that truly we could wrap our brains around it. I think that's something to wait for eternity to figure out.
Yeah, we're in that kind of already, but not yet, where sin has been dealt with, but we have not seen the final chapter of sin being completely dealt with. And I remember reading a book it was by A.W. Tozer called Knowledge of the Holy. And he goes through some of those different attributes of God, like his omnipresence, his omniscience, and man, that dude, A.W. Tozer's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Because it really blew my mind to read through and try to understand on this side of eternity.
Yeah.
Kind of those different aspects of his nature and character.
Yep. Kind of like our good friend here, Martin Luther.
Martin Luther.
I didn't realize this until like weeks after we put this up here, but it says catalog right there. I don't know what that means. Huh. The Martin Luther catalog.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a calendar in there. The Martin Luther calendar.
Where'd you say you got that from?
Some lady on Facebook Marketplace.
Gotcha.
It was in a box with a bunch of other books.
He's a rebel. Nailing stuff to the walls.
Yeah, the church doors. These are all the things that I have a problem with. You Catholics.
We should start doing that, right?
Yeah. Go to Catholic churches. This is what I have wrong with you.
That's social media today.
Yeah. I was going to say, anytime we have a problem with somebody, let's just go nail it to their door instead of going and posting about it on Facebook.
See, the thing is, Martin Luther lived in a different time. So, like, he could go up and nail something on the door, and if anyone's really mad about it, it's kind of like fisticuffs. Like, let's just punch it out.
Punch them in the face.
But
now we got keyboard warriors.
Well, but all that aside, like, you really have to pick and choose where you go, because this doesn't apply to everywhere in the world. But where we live in America, if you go to the wrong door at the wrong time of day with the wrong information, then you will not leave the steps alive. Because there will be some sort of firearm that will just obliterate the door and anything on the other side of it.
Oh, you damaged my door. I'll show you. I'll blow that door away.
We live in a country where some people have enough extra money to buy old military vehicles and equipment and things that it's like, yeah, I had an extra $100,000 I wasn't using, so I bought a tank. You just think, what? Like, I'm not allowed to fire from it, but I've got it. So
no, I'm going to be interested to hear y'all's next portion. So you're going to go through the wise men. They were kind of similar to Luke, like they were kind of a rebel to my understanding, right? Like they were being told by King Herod to go find.
Yeah, next week.
Are we getting too far ahead?
We're getting too far.
Okay, let's pause.
We'll get more into it.
Very interesting.
But think about this, though. The Magi is another name for the three wise men. That's also the name they decided to use for the guardian class in the Mummy movie. The Magi.
So if any of that piques your interest, tune in next week as we dive deeper into that topic.
Heck yeah.
Look at that plug right there.
I'm always plugging something in.
Let's go.
Also, feel free to turn this on Christmas morning when you're opening presents with all your family.
Because if you're listening to this on the release day, it is the 23rd.
That's right.
23rd.
2 more days till Christmas, baby.
And if you're listening on Wednesday, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everyone out there.
And if you listen to it on the 24th,
Merry Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas Eve. And if you're listening to it 1 year from now, what are you doing? Why are you so far behind?
Also, we love you.
Yes.
We love you.
Never leave us. Brenda! No. I don't even know a Brenda.
No.
I don't know.
But, the inerrancy of Scripture is really interesting. Like, that's what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Those things I find fascinating. Like, you look at the resurrection of Jesus, right? Yeah. And who are the witnesses that first deliver the message?
Yeah, it's a couple of women.
And why is that wild? And why does that show evidence that Scripture was not written by men, made up at the Council of Nicaea?
So it's controversial for women to give testimony
100%
in this time and age.
So if you were writing this as a human
propaganda
group, to uphold your legacy or whatever, to control land and a kingship and a legacy, why would you base the most critical point of your entire story on people that cannot give evidence in
present
a legal system at the time?
Yeah, it is boggling and baffling to be like, why would you do that? Why would you, reveal yourself to Mary Magdalene? Like, out of all the people that you could reveal yourself to first, why didn't you go to Caiaphas, like the high priest who prophesied your death that year? Like, why don't you, like, he knows you were killed. Why don't you just, boom, show up in front of all of them? I think it comes back around to that why Jesus came to earth in the first place. He did not come for the religious zealot class of the time. He came for sinners, people who were dead in sin, who needed saving. And Mary Magdalene, he cast 7 demons out of her, and then she became a lifelong disciple. So she has nothing to lose by pursuing Christ and loving Christ, because she's been given everything. He's redeemed her and rescued her from the demonic forces.
And aren't we all a little bit of Mary Magdalene?
Aren't we all a little?
Yeah. Jesus has rescued us.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about the demonic. I was like, I feel like I'm pretty free, but
Jesus has saved us, so we should serve him.
Yeah. And I think the important part of that, like Jesus revealing himself after the resurrection and the people he decides to do it to, even though he's back from the dead and he's alive and he's physical and tangible, he still requires faith. He wants it to be based on faith. And so he appears to these women who aren't acknowledged in the legal system to go and give an account of him to his disciples and apostles. And then they have to operate in faith to believe that, hey, these women are telling us he's back from the dead. These women who Jesus saw fit to have around and to have conversation with and heal and restore. And he saw them as valuable, and they're now telling us he's back from the dead. Are we going to believe it or are we not? And so they believe. And the Bible does say, when Jesus goes up into heaven at the beginning of Acts, even then, some of his disciples still doubted, so our faith, our religion, very much so 100% hinges on we believe in who Christ says he is. It's not, there's no amount of evidence that makes us more valid before God. It's solely our faith in Christ because he's done all the other work, right? So it all hinges back down on we believe. It's not a merit-based religion like all the other ones. It all comes down to belief. That's it. Believe. And there you are. So, yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like, if it wasn't real, if all of this was made up and fake, I would not be using the testimony. I would be using whoever was the most convincing as a witness to a resurrection. I would not be using a woman who a lot of people knew was demonically possessed, who serves, these guys that are part-time fishermen, part-time ministers.
Yeah. It's really interesting how the Bible doesn't shy away from the brokenness of mankind. Like in Matthew, just before what you read, it's going through the lineage that leads up to Christ, and it like points out David and his affair with Bathsheba. Like if you're writing, again, like if you're a human writer and you're writing the perfect character, like you're not going to put that in, and you're not going to specifically point out the fact that this happened, and it's really, to me, those are some of the evidences that really solidify the fact that this was God's story and God's redeeming grace that brought him here.
Amen. Yeah, I think that's important because once again, it comes back around to that. He fulfills prophecy. And so you got to include the things like he's a descendant of David because God says, he tells, even though David does a lot of messed up stuff, God tells David, I am going to bring forth a savior of my people through your lineage. He will be a descendant of you, and he will rescue my people, right? And so even after God gives that promise to David, and now a prophecy that's going to come to pass, wow, it's 2 yawns in one episode. But yeah, David does a lot of messed up stuff, but God still did promise that he would do it. And so in order to prove Christ, he includes that part in his story. Like, hey, Jesus is not David, but he is a descendant of David, which is required in order for him to have legitimacy to the role that he is taking on, which is the Messiah.
Yeah.
Or the Savior.
And the book of Psalms is just such a great picture into the mind of that already but not yet world that we live in, where David is lamenting his sins and looking to the hope and the faith that there will be a Messiah to come, that we will be rescued from these things. And, I have to rely on that a lot myself, just thinking about your daily bread and the different things that, we struggle with, and that it's okay to not be okay. Like a lot of people view Christians as being like, oh, well, you've got it all together, or it's just a coping mechanism for the troubles of this world. But
that, or you have to have it all together if you're Christian.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And,
otherwise you're a hypocrite.
Right.
And the Bible kind of unashamedly points out the brokenness and the times when David, and it's like, it's okay that this hurts. It's okay that this is broken because I have made a way.
That's right.
And that's that's just, I remember reading Timothy Keller. It's that book, The Reason for God. It kind of goes through a lot of the other world religions. And I remember at kind of one point, maybe near the end, he's kind of pointing out the fact that, like, if you look at all these other world religions, all of them, it's the human or the person, individual, trying to get to God. Like, you're doing these things to kind of earn or to try to achieve nirvana or achieve this oneness or this higher thing. And Christianity and our God is the only one that said, like, I want you to be up here.
Yeah.
And you can't get there. And so I'm going to come to you. At a base level, Christianity is the only religion where God came down to us to make a way for us to get to him. Whereas everything else is saying, like, here's these tidbits and just, you have to do these things to get there. It's works-based religion. Yeah. And, our God is through faith alone in Christ alone.
That's right. That's right. Only through the blood of the Lamb.
100%.
100%.
I might have cut you off a little bit earlier there.
Okay.
Finish what you were saying.
No, that's it. Just that it's by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony is how we will overcome. And that's in the Bible. We will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. But yeah, I just want to encourage anyone listening, if you are not a believer, but you feel the Spirit tugging on your heart, or maybe you have questions, or maybe you have arguments, whatever it is, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to talk to you, pray with you, and, maybe help you out if you got some questions. So you can email us at saintsthatserve@gmail.com. Or you can message us on any of our socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X. We're on it all. Or you can comment on any of the apps that you're listening. We're there. We want you to have whatever information you need. Or if you need prayer, we want to pray for you. So we can't do that unless you let us know. So let us know. Yeah, that's all I got for the nativity stuff.
It's the Christmas season.
It's the Christmas
season.
So yeah, we'll close the nativity portion of the podcast with that, is that we got to remember why we celebrate Christmas. Because if the church had kind of just stood their ground and was like, hey, we're going to commemorate Christ's birth whenever we think he actually was born, and we're just going to do away with this pagan holiday, then we wouldn't be doing what we do today in December. It would be something totally different at a totally different time of the year. But we do it in December. And the reason we do it in December is because we want to commemorate the birth of Christ, the Son of God, coming into the world to be with man. Emmanuel, God with us. So that is the reason for the season. God is with us, and it starts with the birth of Jesus Christ. He is with us. So, man, just remember that Christmas is not about fat Coca-Cola men or presents or who has the best decorated tree on Instagram.
Diet cherry Dr. Pepper.
Or diet cherry Dr. Pepper. No, well, great callback to earlier in the episode. But I think that the seasonal soda beverage right now is something cranberry. It's like Sprite cranberry or something.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a multi-pack at Costco.
A multi-pack of cranberry?
It was like the ginger ale brand, like Seagram's or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But it had I think one of them was like a cranberry ginger ale or something.
Hey, that's fine. I'm all about it.
Why not?
Speaking of sodas, we didn't talk about this last episode, Jairus, but when we went to Universal in Orlando, Florida.
Call back to last week's episode, the theme park episode.
We went to the Harry Potter stuff, Diagon Alley, and then to the other one at Islands of Adventure or whatever. And my wife, every single time, was like, I want to get a butterbeer. I want to get a butterbeer. I want to get a butterbeer.
Is that how she said it? Butterbeer?
Butterbeer, yep. No.
I don't see your wife saying it like that.
Imagine an angelic voice coming
This
down.
is why we need video right here.
Yeah.
Because Jairus is over here showing a Dr. Pepper Zero cherry something or other.
It just, the can makes it look gross.
And but here's the thing is, that's not even the original can. The original can was all white.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be the
diet was always white.
Diet was always white. Yep. Anyways, yeah, my wife talks like an angelic voice through the clouds. So if you hear that, it's most likely my wife talking. Anyways, she was like, I want a butterbeer. So I tried it. I've had it at some point in my life. I just didn't remember. But when we tried it, you know what it was? It's just cream soda.
Isn't it like warm cream? Did they heat it up? Was it warm?
Sometimes it's...
Because in the book, it's supposed to be warm, right?
Right.
I don't know what it's supposed to be in the books, but I know at the theme parks...
It's not warm.
It's a cream soda with extra froth at the top.
In the book, it is a warm beverage that they drank. In the parks, it's cold, and you can even get it like
you can get it hot.
I think seasonally you might
you can get it hot.
Get it hot
because she had a warm butterbeer and she had a regular one. Not at the same time. She wasn't dual fisted.
She wasn't double fisting butterbeers.
Whoa! She wasn't doing that.
You can get a slushy version of it during the summer.
Say what?
No, the Gen Z version is say less, not say what anymore.
Say less.
Say less.
I'm gonna say less right now.
We're evolving.
My version of say less is shut up.
Shut the front door.
Or when I'm confused, I say more.
Say more. See more. Anyways, yeah, I just had to bring that up because we were talking about sodas again. It made me think about
Butterbeer.
that everyone's just buying an overpriced cream soda at the theme parks.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. Joke's on you. I can get this at the vending machine for 75 cents.
I don't think there's anywhere that sells a soda
Inflation,
for
it's $2.
Maybe in the middle of Indiana. You don't know. You're not out there.
Hey, if you're listening in Indiana, let us know how much your soda costs in the machine.
On the side of the interstate.
On the side of the interstate.
Because apparently they do that. In the Midwest, you'll just be on the highway and then there'll be a little side spot with like 2 soda machines and a bathroom. And that's it.
That's called a rest stop.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some soda machines at some rest stops.
But this is literally like a porta-john and 2 vending machines. It's nothing else. Like, I know what you guys are talking about, rest stops, but there's no building. There's no building.
I don't care if there's a building or not. If you're stopping to use the restroom as a rest stop, the building does not matter.
Why are you so emotional about this right now?
No.
Let's dive into this. One key thing is this. Do you have to take an exit off of the highway in order to get to this bathroom / soda machine?
What I'm hearing is it's literally on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah. When I say highway, it's a 2-lane highway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a normal road anywhere else.
Normal road.
Would not call that a rest area then, in my mind.
My thing is, what I'm thinking about is, like, it's strategically put in the middle of 2 different areas you could stop, okay? But they're just so far apart that they are like, we need to put a bathroom here for somebody, right?
Sounds to me like it's a murder trap.
Who is driving out there and collecting the cash and restocking the vending machines?
I was going to say, even worse, who's going out there to empty out the porta-john?
And to empty out the porta-john. Who's doing it?
Have y'all in recent times driven on a road somewhere where you see the sign that's like next fuel?
Yeah, next
like
gas station is like
120 miles or something like that. Like that's becoming few and far between. Where
and
we
it
are.
always creeps up
It
on you, though.
freaks you out.
I was gonna say, that's got to be a scary feeling just to be like, wait a minute, I have to stop somewhere because there's nothing for the next 200 miles.
Yeah, because I read slow. And so we'll be driving and I'll see the sign. And when it's in sight for me to read, I'm like, and then I literally pass it and I'm like, oh, wait.
And then you don't want to turn around. You're like,
I don't want to look like an idiot and be like, oh, yeah, I just finished reading the sign.
No, you finished comprehending the sign 100 miles past the sign and you have another 100 miles to go.
Yeah. No, but the closest area that we have like that, I think, is actually the Smokies. Because there's no gas stations in the Smokies. And so it's literally, if you're coming in on the west side, when you get to the east side, there's a gas station and vice versa. But that's the closest I can think of where it's a long stretch. We don't really have that.
Doing this live, we just got another like on our Instagram.
Woohoo!
let's go.
All right. Well, we're going to enter into our final little bit, Tyler. So this is your transition. We're going to go into the corner. And today we're going to talk about something somewhat along the lines of like Christmas season, but it's not really Christmas. You know what I'm saying?
Are we discussing what movies are Christmas movies?
No. We're taking like
We've done that already.
That figured.
The corner is kind of like...
It used to be the cryptid corner, but then we turned it into the conspiracy corner.
Okay.
Because we were talking more, not just about cryptids, but just conspiracies in general. And then we were like, well, that doesn't sound cool. So the corner.
Now it's just the corner.
Yeah.
Love it.
And that's it right there. That's the corner right there.
Yeah.
Literally right here where we've got Enderell.
This is the corner stop. Next gas station, 150 miles away.
That's right. All right. So what do you guys know about Jack Frost?
Jack Frost. I saw Jack Frost last night.
Did you?
Yeah. He was at that light show place.
We went to a light show. I guess that's what it would be called. It's like a walkthrough. Like you walk through and it's all the different decorations. But it's in someone's like 1,600 square foot house, quarter acre, if that, lot. It's literally their driveway is where you can walk. There is no space anywhere else because it's littered with just decoration.
Like when you say littered, it is like an I Spy book of Christmas decorations and inflatables and animatronics.
It does.
And lights.
It's a Where's Waldo page.
Every time I see one of those places, I'm just like, man, good for you.
Yeah.
That took a lot of, how much, I always want to ask them, how much time
You have that
did
answer.
it take?
We do have that answer.
Okay, this is happening right now. So you talk to this person.
So, someone in our group was like talking to someone and they're like, it takes us 3 months to set up and 3 months to tear down.
No.
Yeah.
So it's literally just the summer. They don't have Christmas stuff happening.
I looked at their house from Google Maps today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I guess they took it in the summer because there was nothing in the yard at all.
Okay.
Man, that is some dedication. 3 months.
This house has a 2-story Santa Claus inflatable, a 2-story
Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman inflatable, and a 2-story The Grinch inflatable. So they've got 3 massive inflatables, and then probably, what would you say, another 50 inflatables?
Of more than that. It's got to be more.
It's got to be more than that.
And then wooden cutouts that they painted and lights hanging from the trees and like a snow machine, and their entire house is like
covered
in doing stuff.
Gee.
And then you go to the back, like, and they have a little shed with all the same stuff, and it's crazy. But I said all that because they had like a Spirit Halloween Jack Frost back there where they were running it for Christmas.
Okay, so that was my question. It's like, what was the strangest thing? When you walk through those places, my mind goes to like, okay, what can I find is the most like odd, out of place, really weird thing?
Actually, funny enough, it was probably Santa Claus sitting on a toilet.
Yeah, there was a cutout of Santa Claus sitting on the toilet. But I would say, as far as like out of place, like it kind of didn't fit in with any other theme there. The Jack Frost, because there was nothing else that was kind of
in that corner.
in that realm. There was, ironically, a Where's Waldo cutout. So Waldo, and he wasn't like Christmas themed at all. It was just Waldo.
I would argue that he was candy cane themed.
Yeah, I guess you could make that argument. And then the third one was a silhouette of a Bigfoot with a Santa Claus hat on.
Let's go, Bigfoot.
So
they also had Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
They had Baby Yoda, then they had the Yoda animatronic as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In the corner.
Nice.
And he just said, happy holidays to you, I will say, or something like that,
Yeah, something very Yoda-ish. But it's good. I mean, their whole thing is they do like a canned food drive you can donate to when you're there, and you can come look at all the lights, all free.
Man, that's some of the coolest things I've seen is when I see those big places like that. Like, it's one thing to just put it all up for your own reasons.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I see places like that, and they have some sort of event or a fundraiser or something like that. And that is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
Way to go.
This is the animatronic.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So that's old Jack Frost.
That is the Jack Frost animatronic.
Are we getting into, like, what is the story behind
Yeah.
Jack Frost? Because when I hear Jack Frost, I think of, like, the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or whatever, like, stop-motion animation.
Stop motion with the heat miser.
Yeah, with the original Yeti.
Well, those are 2 separate movies, though.
Yes.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
But they're in the same... They're
in the same universe.
They're in the same ilk.
Ranklin and Bass cartoons.
Yes. Like, they were, I think, made by the same group. But
yes. So there's like 18 famous ones. You can buy them all in one complete Blu-ray set now. Rankin and Bass was the name of the company. Like, it was 2 guys who made those.
And for those of you who don't know what Blu-ray is because you're young, you can actually listen to episode, what was it, 12? Where did we talked about Blu-ray.
Did you go through the big debate between Blu-ray disc and like the Sony, or well, Blu-ray was Sony, right? There was another
HD DVD.
Yeah, there was another competing DVD company.
We did talk about it, but I don't remember what episode it was.
We talked about the history or the progression of VHS to where we're at, where everything is rented by a subscription online. Everything.
Nice. I wish I was here for that one.
I think it was episode 12.
We'll have to figure that out.
We'll have to figure it out. You know what? Go back and listen to all of them.
Yeah.
And then you'll find out.
And you tell us.
Yeah,
what episode
that's
is
a
it.
good engagement deal
There we
right
go.
there. Yeah.
I love that we're now getting to the point that we have enough content out there that we can't recall it.
Do you have some swag? Like you should have somebody like get a hat, and then like the first person to message with the proper episode number gets.
Do you know a good merch person? Because we need a merch person.
I might be able to find somebody.
We've already decided that our first merchandise is going to be the trash cat, be it a hat or a shirt or whatever.
We need a logo shirt or a hat, and then we need something that says 100% on it. And then also, Tyler, this is your transition. We got ideas.
Tyler, this is your transition. That's solid.
We've come up with a lot.
That needs to be a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Have like Tyler, this is your transition, and then something on the back.
We're moving on to the next topic. It's on the back of the shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Anyways.
So Jack Frost.
Jack Frost. He is believed to be a Scandinavian / Anglo-Saxon origin or tradition, but through Norse mythology, he's thought to be like a combination of two characters, which are Jakul and Frosty, which are two sons of the wind god Carrie.
Underwood?
Yeah, Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
Play the NFL football song.
But he's got...
There we go.
Yeah. But it says here he is often depicted as a sprightly figure, kind of like a sprite.
Not Mountain Dew?
No. Sierra Mist.
Sierra Mist.
Sierra Mist.
So I'm clear on my cryptids. What's fairies and sprites? Are they similar?
So, okay. Actually...
Hey,
fairy is just a generic term for a lot of different stuff. But usually when you're talking about fairies, you're talking about little people, the fae, or things like elves or gnomes or the invisible people, or what do the natives call them? The Makopaso.
Mama Shop.
Go back and listen to our Thanksgiving episode. We talk about it there.
That's episode 11.
Episode 11.
So don't go to YouTube to listen to that one.
Yeah, go to anywhere else. But but fairy is like, it's a lot of different stuff. A sprite is, I think, kind of zeroes in a little bit more because I think it's based out of like Russian folklore, a sprite. And it's this winged, fairyish looking creature. And I guess that's where we get the idea. It really would be, we get the idea of fairies from sprites. Does that make sense?
yes. I wish there was some video here because the lean in that you just gave me when you said actually, it's very intense.
Here's an idea. Aliens.
Yeah.
Again, that would only work if that was on video.
Yeah. I'm doing all this stuff and it's not even... Anyways.
No, it worked.
When let's make a promise now. Episode 50 will be when we start doing live videos.
Episode 50?
Yeah, let's commit. Even though we committed to merch for episode 10 and we didn't do that either.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Anyways, but I mean, what he does, we all know. He creates frost. He makes things freeze.
Now, are these two, you said he was potentially one of a brother? Or this folklore?
A combination of two
Yeah.
different.
So the idea of Jack Frost is the combination of two different characters from Norse mythology. And they kind of squished them together to make Jack Frost. But the character or this individual who is like the coming of winter, he puts frost on everything. Sometimes people look at him as like a villain bad guy, but most of the time it's just he's a free-spirited, mischievous character that brings frost or the beginning of winter kind of a deal.
Winter is coming.
But there's a couple of different names. In Russian folklore, they call him Grandfather Frost.
Why not Dad Frost?
What?
Why not? Why does he have to be a grandfather?
I don't know. Maybe because nobody's dads are around, I guess. I don't know.
Gosh.
You ever notice that? It's never father anything.
It's always
mom or grandmom or
Father
granddad.
Christmas.
Well, that's the only one.
Yeah.
Does that mean everyone's dad is Santa Claus and that's why he's never around? It's because he's delivering presents to everyone else.
Ouch.
It's because I only need one father, and that's the one above.
That's right. our Lord and Savior.
Bam.
The Japanese have folklore for Jack Frost.
A yokai?
Frostman and Mistman.
That sounds like anime characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Frostman.
Are you sure that's lore and not just
lore.
Eevee?
They are similar characters to Jack Frost in Japanese folklore.
Can I tell a quick Japanese folklore story?
Sure.
So when we were there, one of our tour guides was telling the story. They were showing us that, like, oh, look at this. Like, we were seeing this mascot everywhere, right? And they were saying, this is, everything that's a mascot there is really kind of like a deity to them. And they had one that was representing everywhere. And the guy told me the story is what this is a Japanese man went to America, was was at a college talking to a college professor. And that deity was sitting on his desk. The Japanese man asked him, what is that? And he said, oh, that's our God. It was the school's mascot. And so he takes it back to Japan, believes him, takes it back to Japan, and then Japan starts worshiping this idol. And it's just a college mascot.
Gosh.
Jeez.
Dude, the Japanese are an interesting group of people.
We got to get into that subject at some point because it's Japan in general and like what they believe, because it's like they're so open to anything.
Should we talk about feudal Japan?
Sure.
Ooh. Yeah, the earliest literature that has Jack Frost is only 1732.
Only?
It was released in basically a Christmas entertainment book. It had the character Jack Frost in it.
Golden Spine or Golden Books?
What? No.
What's those books with the golden spine on it?
I don't
No?
I don't know. A golden spine?
Yeah, they're famous for having a golden spine on the books. They're children's books.
Are you talking about like a human spine or like the binding?
The binding on the side of the book
Is golden.
It's like, and I think they're called golden books.
I don't know.
Okay, you keep continuing.
I mean, that's pretty much all it. That's all I got is Jack Frost. He's not really real. But there's a lot of folklore characters that are similar to him. But he's not real. So, not really a cryptid. Sorry, guys. I'm really kind of running short. These Christmas.
That's why it's the corner now.
Yeah. Well, because we already talked about Santa Claus. We already talked about Krampus. We already talked about elves. So.
You're telling me you've never seen this book? This style of book?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
When
glad
you
I'm not
said
the only-
golden
It's
spine,
like
I was
Scholastic.
thinking of like a rat.
No, it's literally called Golden Books is the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is called 1732 Book Round About Our Coal Fire or Christmas Entertainments. So, Christmas Entertainments is the name of the book.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, I guess we could have gotten into the Abominable Snowman, but
That's just another version of Sasquatch, though, at this point, right? It's Yeti. It's just like an ape
maybe.
creature in the snow.
Maybe.
So there's no thought that old Jack Frost was like the controller of. He's just a character.
He's just a fictional
Just a
character
fictional
based
character.
off of other real folklorish characters.
What was the original folklorish characters?
So we talked about Frostman and Mistman.
Right.
We talked about Grandfather Frost. There's also a Germanic character, Mrs. Holle, Holy, Holle. I don't know how you'd pronounce that.
Holy?
Holy.
Yeah, it's
And
just
then
Holly.
Swedish folklore has King Boar. Has nothing to do with frost or snow or anything.
King Boar.
King Boar. The Finnish national epic Kalevala features a character named Pakasuko.
Now, are all these characters like considered, or these folklore characters considered mischievous? Because I know that was something that's very much associated somewhat with
I don't know.
Jack Frost, is he's kind of this nefarious.
Right, because he's bringing the cold. And it's like, we don't want that because it will kill our crops. It'll kill us. We don't want this. So this entity that's bringing the cold would be visualized as an evil entity.
Yeah, I think there's a different depiction depending on what part of the world you're in. I think that it's just these different folklore characters, they all have the one thing that they have in similar with Jack Frost is that they bring frost. I don't know if you could say that they have any other characteristics of like, oh, he's this free-spirited, roaming, mischievous character who brings the frost, or if they all have, their own thing. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Sorry.
No, I was just curious because we started talking about sprites and stuff. I didn't know if you were talking about he's this little mischievous sprite that springs out.
The issue is all these characters that I just named from these different cultures, most of them have a more like respectable name. And normally if it's a respectable name, it leans more good.
So like grandfather this or Mr. and Mrs. that.
Grandfather Frost or like King Boar, that could be seen as a bad guy, but yeah.
More of a term of endearment.
Yeah. So it would almost seem like it's not that he's necessarily a bad guy, but.
Well, I like some good cold days. Good cold days mean.
They mean the deer's walking.
Means animals are moving around.
Which means you're about to eat.
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily mean that. You got to be good at killing too. You got to be good at shooting.
Yeah. Do your chickens stop laying eggs a lot in the winter when it starts getting colder?
They slow down. They don't come to a complete stop.
Yep.
But it does slow down. Right now, I would say like maybe all of our laying hens, the ones that are actually laying, they're probably laying an egg every 3 days, maybe.
Yeah, that's about what ours do. And
compared to like every day or every other day,
I'm not implying that we're living in a very hard to live in time, but like I had a moment where I went out because our chickens are starting to lay less eggs. We eat a lot of eggs at our house.
Yeah.
We had already made breakfast for our kids and we had ran out of eggs in the house. And my wife was like, hey, just go check and see if there's any in the coop. So I go out there. No eggs in the coop. I was the last one to we made breakfast for everybody else. I was going to try to find some eggs for some breakfast tacos. I love me some breakfast tacos. Go out there, and on my way back after not having any eggs, I was like, man, this must have been what it was like as a pioneer, like winter setting in.
Yeah.
You've got no food. Like, what are you going to do now?
You have that thought about, man, I'm like a settler as you walk back to your heated house.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not implying that we don't live in comfort by any means, but it was one of those just kind of reminders of like, man, that's like the world shifts when it gets to winter. Like a lot of things change. I love the winter because a lot of my favorite things to do, hunting, a lot of that stuff happens typically in the fall and the winter. And you see these, one thing I love to see the way God has worked in creation is, and a lot of it associated with winter are these great migrations of species, across the continent. And it's driven by the changing of seasons and winter and moving for food and things like that. But to watch caribou and waterfowl, ducks and geese make these massive journeys in a way that we're still trying to figure out exactly how they do what they do.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff I'm involved in, like tracking ducks and stuff, like they'll land in the same pond, not the same state, not the same county, not the same city. They'll land in the same pond that their mother first took them on their first flight from the breeding grounds.
Wow.
Like it's fascinating.
That's crazy.
Like if you blindfolded me and took me to North Dakota or somewhere and dropped me off and then took me back here and said, okay, I want you to find your way back to there. Like I would need a GPS and all this technology in order to find the specific spot that I'm standing on. And God created a perfect world. And, these creatures can land and do these things. And it happens a lot in the winter. It's a really neat time.
Well, we don't think about this, but and it's just because we're so in the immediate and all of the things that we plan for and prepare for are not our meal 6 months from now. It's, like my vision board for 5 years from now, how much money I want to have, what kind of house I want to have, what kind of debt I want to have paid off or whatever, like all these things that are not necessarily bad, but they're not a need. It's more of just a preference kind of a deal. But I mean, yeah, dude, people back hundreds of years ago, everything revolved around being successful in the summer so you could be successful at harvest so that you could survive the winter.
Right. So you won't die.
So you won't die. Exactly. And so your kids will actually survive and stuff. So it's like, but I mean,
A lot of looking forward to prep for not just yourself, but your descendants.
well, yeah, that was the thing is that you have two like plannings that you have to do simultaneously. You have to plan for the next generation for them to have something, but you also have to plan for the changing of the season so that you have something to be able to make it through for next year to keep your long-term plan going. You've got to have that short-term plan. So, but we don't think about, the different winds and as they change and what time of year it is, that's when they blow more predominantly this way or that way. We don't think about the angle of the sun because yes, it rises in the east and it sets in the west, but is it at what degree east and at what degree west is it setting and rising? And we don't think about, the angle of shadows casting when the sun's moving throughout the sky. Is it optimal for growing crops here or is it over here? We don't think about any of this stuff because it's not in our day to day anymore. But
Is that the deep state just trying to dumb us down?
yeah.
Mhm. It's crazy because, I still don't know if I'm going to go home and get McDonald's or Wendy's on,
On the way home. Yeah, but I mean, it is. It's like we've kind of put ourselves into this box where it's like, all you have to worry about is making money, because everything else you can get at the tip of your fingertips. All you got to do is have a little bit of money and you can get it all, So kind of, I don't want to say modern day slavery, but it kind of is modern day slavery. It's like,
I mean, you're trapped to it. You can't, if you break that cycle because of how society runs, you can't survive.
Makes it very difficult.
your life revolves around solely making money. Like you work the insane amount of hours that you work just so that you can make X amount of dollars so that you can pay for your streaming service subscriptions, so you can pay for your cell phones, so you can pay for all your house and electricity and
To pay for all this stuff that you work at work more earning those things than you are at home enjoying the things that you are.
for buying your clothes that they made over in India and they shipped here, imported here.
Shout out to India.
Yeah, India. To buy your avocados that they grow in California and Mexico and they ship them here. And it's like all these different things that it's like, dude, if you got shot back into 1870, none of this that would be here to start with. They weren't eating avocados up here in the North America eastern seaboard. But, it's like they knew all the different fruit yielding native plants and they knew how to manipulate those plants and nurture and grow them. They knew how to splice plants. Like, do you know how? I mean, have you guys
grafting tree?
Have you ever done a grafting tree before?
I've never done it myself.
Me neither. And to me, it's like,
Seen it.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw a guy, he grafted like 3 different types of apples onto another apple tree. So he had 4 different kinds of apples coming from one tree.
Wow.
And it was just from grafting branches.
Name 4 different types of apples.
Crisps.
Long crisps.
Some sour. Dude, I can't.
Why are you struggling?
Granny Smith.
Granny Smith. There we go. I'm struggling. I don't really eat a whole lot of apple, actually.
Cosmic crisps are the best.
Cosmic crisps are solid.
We used to have apple trees and pear trees and when I was growing up. And so we ate. That's when I used to eat a lot of apples and pears, but now I don't really. And that's the same with all fruit. Like I don't really eat a whole lot of fruit, but when I was a kid, I ate a lot because we had a lot of fruit. We had a bunch of different berry bushes. We had a couple of different trees, and that's when I would eat fruit. But now I don't really eat that much. And I'm probably healthier for it because of the amount of insane nonsense that they got in all this food now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're going to end it there.
Sounds great.
So I'm going to tell everybody out there, like the show, leave us a review, comment, and if you have not subscribed, subscribed, and share it with your friends and family. Just remember, the best gift that you can give someone this Christmas season, besides the good news of Jesus Christ, is the information that our podcast exists. And that they can listen to all 15 episodes plus bonus content anywhere that they get their podcasts.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Thank you. And also, thank you so much, Taylor, for coming on out.
Thanks.
Oh man, thank you guys so much for having me. It was so cool to see the studio and be here with my good friends, and this was awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate you
We
having me.
love you.
Love you.
I'm going to say it. And also we made a commitment to try and have a guest every 5 episodes. And I woke up this morning and I was like, we're recording episode 15. And we don't have anybody. So thank you for last minute being willing to jump in here.
No, we had talked about this.
We did. I guess it's true. Yeah.
This is another insight into Johnny and I's relationship, because he was like, just let me know by Saturday. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'll see him on Sunday. And then I see you and I watch one of your sons like fall down
fall off
the stage as I was standing in the back, like getting the camera stuff put away. And I see him. And then like Johnny's carrying
a mournful child out the
and I was like, oh, I need to talk to him. And then
he's
he
gone.
left. And then then he texted me this morning and I was like, heck yeah, let's go.
It's funny because I was driving on the way to the studio and I called John like, hey, I'm on my way. And he's like, yeah, I got Taylor coming. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's episode 15. And I just long pause. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep on having guests every 5th episode.
Do we still have the plan to do our missionary month?
We do.
Mission month?
Oh, I guess we'll have more than the entire month of January. We'll have guests.
Nice.
We're doing interviews of people that have done mission work all of January.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Alrighty, well, Taylor, thanks for coming on.
Yep. Hope to come
Thank
back
you.
sometime. That was fun.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say now, anytime you want.
Let's go.
Within a span of 5 episodes.
Yeah. 5-week increments.
5-week increments.
5th week.
Yeah.
Come on down. All right, well, this has been the Saints That Serve podcast. My name's Johnny.
I'm Jairus,
Christ is Lord.
and the kingdom is now.
We are
The saints that serve.
Hello there.
That's what my poop says.
Your poop says hello there.
Yep.
Hello. Top of the morning to you.